What is that?
What is that? I don't know, I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Why don't you want to take the lessons on? Because I don't. It makes you look smart. This is about your student life. Yeah, man.
Hello everybody, we're back again. This time I'm with some of my course mates. We're going to be discussing what it's been like to be a first year international development student at the University of East Anglia. So we're just going to be talking about our experiences in first year, as I just said, as deaf students, focusing on different topics such as, okay? such as revision, exams, module choices, all of that, just to give people who want to study dev an idea of what studying dev is really like at an institution that does do development.
My name is Dylan, but you may call me Diego.
You wish. It's live.
Well, I first studied international development with the environment with a year abroad, and then halfway through I changed to international development with the environment with overseas experience, but I'm not even going to be doing this next year. So yeah, I'm just here and
Sad. We're losing Dylan.
I'm Margarita, and I'm doing dev with politics with overseas experience as well.
Hello, I'm Kazim. I'm doing pure development.
Pure. Standard.
Hi, I'm Corey, and I'm doing international development with politics.
I'm Koshesai. I'm doing international development with economics with overseas experience.
I'm Stacey. I'm doing international development with a year abroad.
Nice.
I wanted to do human geography first, actually,
Yeah,
but then the way geography was going with A-levels, I was not gonna get the grades. So I looked at other options that were gonna cover same topics as human geography, and international development was one of them. And yeah, that's the main reason I chose that. And I want to work back in Africa, so I thought.
Yeah. I think for me, choosing dev was something different, and I didn't necessarily want to study something such as human geography that if kind of things didn't work out, I'd be like made to become a teacher. Do you know what I mean? Like, because when you study something, when you study something like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, no offense, obviously, to anybody who studies anything else, but I feel like with international development, it's not like you can be a teacher for dev in primary schools.
Yeah.
They might adapt your human geography and you may do geography that way, but you can't become necessarily a dev teacher, or the next thing is a like dev lecturer, and I don't want to lecture. So I think for me it was that's part of the reason. Obviously there's other reasons, but part of it's like I'm forced to kind of challenge myself. Like, so when I graduate, God willing, you force yourself into a different kind of job market, as well as just kind of believing that there's a lot that needs to be done in the world, and we all kind of play a part in that, and I wanted to maybe play a bigger part than others maybe want to.
Yeah, I think that's why dev students are kind of special. I think we're special in a way, because I mean, it's not a course that I feel like everyone can just do if you're not passionate about it. Especially, and I mean, I think that if we all come with the right motivation, it can be something that can like completely transform our lives, and I feel like that's what's done for me.
Actually, the reason kind of why I ended up in dev here at UEA is a little bit random. I came here looking more at like international relations, politics kind of courses, and then my sister really wanted to go to London that day, and so I couldn't listen to the international relations talk, and I heard the international development talk because I thought maybe it's a little related, and I really liked what they had to say, so I decided to apply for that instead.
I wanted to do economics, and then I was looking into economics. I've done social sciences like throughout my life. I've done geography, economics, and the other one. At first, I was less like completely focused on doing dev, but once I took it, I've just like grown into like dev, and it's a subject that you really grow into.
You grow to love it.
And I just realized like getting here, like it just encapsulates so many like themes that I'm really passionate about anyway, like environment, social justice, and it just goes on and on. And it's like you're learning all these different skills, but it's all geared towards trying to make the world like a better and more just place. And I think that's just incredible.
I actually originally applied to do civil engineering because it's a bit mad because from time I used to always say like oh, you'd be a good engineer or something. So I kind of just, that's what I was into, and I like geography. I kind of like resistant material and stuff. But I didn't really know exactly what it was about, and I took a gap year, and on that gap year, I was just, I guess, finding myself, and I was resitting a couple of modules. I did geography, economics, and maths, and I was just looking at other stuff, and I just found development. I like it, when I actually read like the description of development compared to civil engineering, I'm like, this is way more interesting, like in terms of what I want to do, rather than just building like bridges and roads and stuff. It was very decent.
Oh, I thought you were going to use adjectives. Okay, cool.
Honestly, first thing I thought of when you said like, okay, first year in 3 words, I was like, it is finished.
Yes, as in done. My gosh, challenging.
Definitely.
I'm just gonna say readings as a word, so that's just the word in itself. And inspiring, yeah.
That's an international, but it's in unique as well, and how do you use the word challenging, like tough.
I think my phrase is different each term. Because if you ask me,
Yes, I love that.
if you ask me in each month what dev is, I would give you a different
Yeah.
definition every
That's
month.
so true.
So in summer, people are like, what's dev, what's development? I was just saying poverty, studies like poverty, economics. But now like it's so much I didn't know I was going to do anthropology, didn't know I was going to study human cultures and society.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to take that for the whole of next year.
Yeah.
In first semester, everybody, we did the same modules, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we did something called Introduction to Development Studies, IDS, and EIDG. I can't tell you what that is.
Evidence in development.
That module, yeah.
And it was probably one of the most insightful times, like insightful courses. Like I know it was only a short time, but I learned so much. Like learning about stuff like just the human trafficking that's going on in Thailand. Like, you know, on
The
those
seminars
roads.
were amazing.
Yeah.
The seminars were amazing, like the ones on Ebola and
Oh, yeah.
it was just amazing.
I found that in IDS as well, it kind of, because you hadn't picked modules there, so they structured the first semester that you do a bit of every module you can potentially take. So you'll have like X amount of weeks on economics, X amount of weeks on anthropology, and so on and so forth. And it kind of like, you realize you were interested in things you didn't think you were interested in, because it gives you a chance to kind of explore particular topics you either hadn't heard of, or you just thought, oh, that's not me. Like anthropology, I didn't know what the hell it was.
I felt like it was like a panorama picture
Mhm.
of dev, and that's what like was just really cool because you got to see the whole scope of it.
Yeah, and I had no idea it was gonna be like that when I came in. Like it's
Evidence
so
of
simple.
development geography, like you're just confused
Like,
the whole
what?
time.
It's by the grace of God we got through that module, because
I was shocked.
it's just getting your head around it. Nobody really explained to you what was going on.
I
Like,
never knew we were going to be tested on it. I thought we'd just learn it.
So they're like, now you've got to do. I was like, oh, no, we don't.
Made me like avoid every sort of quantitative.
Bro, I never want to
I
hear that
didn't
word
even know it was
again.
compulsory until you told me.
Oh yeah,
You were
Stacey was a zone for a while. Stacey was like, no, I was like, Stacey.
I thought we
really
didn't
have
have
to
to
know.
know until you like we have an exam on it, and it was like 3 weeks to live thing on like.
For example, Excel, like I've always just stayed far away from Excel, and it just forced me to like sit down.
Forced you.
And that's honestly, it's been really helpful. So I mean, it wasn't completely useless, but it was long.
I mean, I did like the report that we did because I liked the question that we chose. It was like about Trump or Clinton, something like that. And I feel like they gave us freedom to choose whatever we wanted to do. That was like it didn't have to be like dev related specifically.
That's why I was so confused.
Yeah.
Exactly. This makes no sense. I'll start off readings.
Exactly.
Bruv, like don't think you don't have to do them. They're there for you to do. I think reading in dev as a whole is very long. So the earlier you get used to it, the better you'll do throughout the year. Like don't put it off. I think for me though, like maybe we'll help people come in next year. But I didn't know how to access my readings. Like I was just like, I just don't know. So when they were talking in some of the lecture, in the first couple of lectures, like, have you done the readings? I'm like, what readings are you talking about? But like as soon, like make sure first you find out how to find your readings, and you pick like a good variation of readings to do, and just do them. do them, highlight them, make notes, because honestly, like, you don't want to be sat in some lectures like, I don't know what's going on because they're talking about reading. I felt as though, like, because nobody's checking if you're reading, it's like, you think it's not really compulsory, like, it's just like, oh, I can get away with it.
That's just the thing about uni, no one really checks.
Yeah, you have to check on yourself.
If you go to classes or not, like, no one just really
self-discipline.
Which is why exactly you got to get acquainted with your own life, and especially with the reading and taking notes, because you can be someone who's excited, like you're zealous and you want to just bang out all the readings, but it's impossible.
Yeah.
And so you've really got to understand to take notes and that.
Yeah, I really struggled with the readings, and I had a hard time doing them in the first place because English is not my first language, so like a lot of the technical like words in the readings were just too much for me, and then even going to lectures.
Also, I think practice with reading makes perfect, just like anything else.
Yeah.
Like, and with Dev, because it's so interesting, like, it's not necessarily what you read is boring, it's just long.
Yeah.
But once you get into it, once you kind of found your technique on how you read, all of that, like, you'll find some really, really, really interesting stuff, and like, you'll be having conversations with people, be like, oh, I read this in my, and it's just cool.
Yeah.
But just take time, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and like, be patient, don't be like, freaking out because you can't do it. Like, everything takes its time. I mean, first year doesn't count for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to be here. I mean, for me, it was like getting used to studying English and like living in a different country. So like, don't be so hard on yourself and just like,
But off the back of that, you're still paying for it, so work hard.
Yeah.
That's true. Work hard, but don't beat yourself up.
But
if you don't do well enough.
People used to tell me first year doesn't count, used to get me raised. Mentally, you need to prepare for the second year.
Yes.
The increase in work rate, work effort you have to put in, that will shock you. And if you're not even on year one yet,
exactly.
The readings, the mistake I did, I used to like read every page of the reading.
Oh yeah, skim read if you have to.
Don't go through every page, literally. Just look for the important details, note them down, and keep going, or else you're just wasting time.
And if you don't have enough time, although you should make time for readings, if you don't have enough time, read the abstract. Because at least you'll have some form of. Just don't walk into lectures and seminars, especially. Don't walk into them blind, because you'll just be sat there like a mug when everybody's talking.
Use IDS. I mean, because you've got coursework. And kind of use it to figure out like your work patterns. Start early on the those seminars you get assessed on, the coursework you assess. Use those formatives.
Formatives, yes.
I mean, you don't have to stress so much about it because it is just formative. It's not summative. But I mean, it's there for a reason because you don't want to like try for the first time when you do the summative and realize you've got it all wrong.
Yeah, I feel like if I hadn't done the formative for IDS, I wouldn't have done so well in the summative.
Because it's just like little things, like you can't in like a formal essay, you can't say can't. It has to be cannot. Like little things like that. I was doing throughout my entire formative, and they're just like little things like that, just to let you know. And I'm like, oh, I would have never really thought of that. Oh, another tip for IDS. I think they'll be there next year or in the future. But PAL sessions are really helpful. Really helpful, like they're like hosted by second and third year students who obviously done first year, and they just talk you through a lot of stuff that you may be confused on. And I think some of the stuff I learned some more effective stuff in PAL sessions than I did in my lectures.
Lectures, so true.
Because lectures just kind of assume you know, and you don't know. So it's good to go to PAL sessions there.
Just ask questions, whether it's your lecturers, other classmates, or like the PAL people who are on your course who have the experience. It's just really important not to sit there and expect everything to come your way.
You've got to be really linked in and just proactive with making friends and just links in networks in the first term, because even with like just people, sit with a new person every lecture, because when you get to know people, you get to see different like personalities, and if you only have your own one clique and like not everyone is really a hard worker, like bad morals corrupt good character, so you just kind of become lazy. So it's good because you can kind of find people and certain services which really help you out, and when you know that from first semester, it really helps you just for second and the future.
Yeah, you just definitely prepare for seminars.
I feel like definitely. Seminars and EIDG were
They're just.
What was it? The like Yardini. I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't even say it. I got there. I was just like, there was. It must have been for like 3 weeks. I just didn't say anything because I was like, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, make sure seminars in EIDG are like, yeah.
It's actually coursework, like.
Yeah.
IDS, that was just an exam.
Bro.
Well, that was like.
An essay.
Also,
The essay was based on
is-
lectures, yeah.
It's not a piece of cake. Definitely prepare for that.
Yeah.
So second semester is where you start doing the modules you picked in first semester. So yeah, second semester is where you kind of have choice. But if you're doing like a stream, so for example, I'm doing Dev with economics, so I have to do economics modules, and then you have like other choices. Whereas if you're doing pure Dev, like Casimir's, that's when you pick. How many did you get to pick?
3.
How many did I pick? Only 2 then?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, if you're doing something, development with something, you have to do the module of what you're doing it with, and then you pick another 2. But if you're doing pure Dev, you pick 3 modules.
In terms of politics, lots of readings.
Politics finished me, I won't even
A
lie.
lot of readings.
A lot.
The exam is, I mean, it's not so difficult to pass, but like definitely make sure you do the readings and go to lectures.
Yeah.
Especially seminars, because they're like worth 5% of your grade.
Oh yeah.
So make sure you show up, even if it's like 9 a.m. and you've been out on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, just go, man.
Just make sure
You're paying for it. Go.
Because
Go.
Politics lecturers are really good.
We had a module fair in first semester, and I'd say it's not a compulsory event, but you'd be clever to go because you kind of speak to, not speak to, but the lecturers speak to you about what their course entails, and even though it's not very long, like 5 minutes of hearing about politics can draw you to want to do politics, because they're very good at their jobs, and their job is to entice you to get to study their module. Just go and find out, like, it's, how long is it, an hour, 2 hours?
Yeah,
Something like an hour, and it's like, it's really worth it because you can either make or break decisions dependent on what you hear from the people who are going to be lecturing you. And that's another thing IDS is really good for, because you can kind of look, and when you're picking modules, you're like, oh, I remember how they lectured and I really liked it. So like, reconsider what you've heard already from other lecturers, just to kind of make a informed decision. Because,
And I mean, that gives you the opportunity too, because IDS covers a lot of things, but for example, geography, not really. And so there's some modules you can take in second term which aren't actually in IDS. And if you don't go to the module fair, you won't really have an idea what it's about. But it's important, like, make a decision for yourself. Like, don't let, because just because other people are like, oh no, I don't like geography. Like, in the end, it's really about you and your degree, and not, don't let yourself just be influenced in your decision because you want to be in a module with your friends or something like that. You'll still find time to spend time with them. Make sure you know what you want to do.
Look at the past papers, because you can see how the end of the year will be before you take the course. So if you really don't want to do essay questions, then don't do that module.
Yeah, it's just about being wise and actually analysing yourself. Like, if need be, go back and look at like the notes you took and the stuff you had to do in first semester when it came to that particular module. Like, for example, social anthropology, it's interesting, but if you're not someone who likes to read and like look at lots of just like interesting linguistics, like the actual use of language they use is kind of, I guess.
I'd also say with modules, it's your opportunity, especially in first year, to do something a bit challenging. Like, challenge yourself a little bit, because you don't want, as Dylan was saying, the jump from first year to second year. We already know it's going to be crazy. So you kind of want to prepare yourself to some extent as much as you can for that. So like, politics is a difficult module. So I picked it because I could have done anthropology, but anthropology for me was quite similar to sociology, as something I'd done before. So I picked politics because I was like, oh, this is new, this is a challenge. And at least now I know how hard it is, so I won't be like, oh, let's try and pick it in second year where it makes a difference. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So try and challenge yourself with your modules and pick something that you're interested in, but like, pick something you're a bit scared of. I was scared of politics, and I still am.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to experiment, definitely do that.
Yeah.
Sure. But I guess it really depends on like what you like as a dev student. I mean, you might I might find anthropology difficult, but other people that might really like it, may find it really interesting, and not hard work at all. So it really depends on what you're into, I guess.
Yeah, and if you're someone who's like mathsy, sciencey, then like environment, definitely, and economics.
Economics, yeah. I quite like
And I
economics.
think because like humanitarian communication, it doesn't come up really at all in IDS. And if you take the opportunity, like one, but it was very, very small. And if you take it in first year, it really sets the tone for the rest of the degree, because it makes you like critically reflect everything that like development talks about and how it talks about it. And it makes you realize, like, for example, then in another module, maybe natural resources or economics, where it does get a lot more technical. In the development approach, you're like, wait a minute, this is how they're talking about other countries or other places and how they're transferring knowledge. And so if you have the opportunity to take it, definitely take it in first year.
I feel like if I could have, I would have probably gone back in time and chose it and choose it, because I feel like in IDS we had that one lecture about it, and I found it so interesting, but at the same time it was only one lecture and I had no idea what the rest of the year was going to be like, the semester was going to be like. So I ended up choosing anthropology, which is something that I had a lot more knowledge on before because of IDS. So
what you said, humanitarian communication is a good module. Like, it kind of brings everything back, because
you guys had to do a vlog or something.
Yeah, but like it makes you really, like, when you're watching the news, it just makes you, because you learn, as Corey said, like about all the technical side, and sometimes it's good to know the theory behind things, but what's actually happening. And I feel like humanitarian communication is a module that brings all your modules kind of together. So yeah.
I also feel like all the modules are intertwined. Like in
Interlinked.
economics, we talk about natural resources, politics, we talk about economics. All that stuff. I feel like it's one great thing about that as well.
If you don't take a module in first year, you can't take it in second year. So if you want to do something in second year,
yes, and they did
take
tell
it in
you.
first year.
Like, I remember I was.
No, I was going to say, does it not depend?
Some degree, like,
It depends, but there's
But
some.
you can't.
So like economics, for example, you can't take economics in second year if you haven't taken the introduction to economics module in second term of first year. So that's something that they might not tell you that you want to consider, but you can always ask.
And you can always change your module choices. Like, if you get like a 2 weeks, I say give it time. Don't just be like, one lecture, I'm out. Give it time to kind of see, but if you don't like it, you can change.
For me, looking at from the mistakes I made, like when it gets to January after your Christmas holiday, like just be on job, because you're gonna start to learn your coursework like without actually being given coursework. So if you know what it is, then once you get that coursework, you'll just be motivated to actually start it, and you should start it, because once it gets to like April, May, June, like that's when you have deadlines and exams, and
it's tight.
Rushing is the worst thing.
Oh, and you know how some module, what is that module thingy booklet have the
module outline?
Yeah, some of them have like the essay topics. If you have an essay that you can choose right from the beginning of the year. So if you can choose your question beforehand, so that you know what to prepare for, like before the deadline is
that module handbook is like your best friend.
I personally would say, set yourself a deadline earlier than the deadline, because you just don't need it. And another thing, Easter holiday is cool, but it's a very long time off. Don't forget you're a student. Make sure if you have an essay due after the Easter holidays, make sure you're starting it and finishing it within the first 2 weeks, so that when you get back now, you can just focus on exams, because you really are given enough time. It's yourself who make yourself stress, and I speak from experience.
One tip on coursework, I found it really helpful to actually ask the lecturers on who had lectured on the topic that I was writing about, can we meet up and talk about my essay plans? One, because it helped you. It gave you like a date, like, okay, this is the time I'm meeting the lecturer, so I've at least got to have something by then. So it holds you accountable, and at the same time, while you're talking with the lecturer, you get an idea for what they want to hear. You get an idea of where your argument can go in a way that they'll that you can bring your point across well, and it's just immensely helpful. And they're willing to do it, so take advantage of that. It helped me a lot in my coursework. And then for exams, on the one hand, if you manage to somehow make sure your lecture notes are kind of on top of it before it comes to exam time. Revision is so much easier.
Sweating.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So like if you just maybe at the end of 1 or 2 weeks you go back, because I don't know about you guys, but my lecture notes were filled with gaps like everywhere because they were just going so fast. But if you go back after a lecture and like fill in the gaps and make sure that's what the lecturer said, if you can still remember it, and what's on the slides is down in your notes, then you don't have to go back to the original lectures when you're revising, but you know you can trust your notes.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful.
I think going off that, if you can, don't end the day with empty notes. Like straight after your lecture, if you have time, go to the library and finish your note. It just makes things so much easier. And unfortunately, I think in other schools they do it, but in the School of the Dev, they don't record your lectures. So I've recorded every lecture on my phone. But I mean, it's not necessary that everybody does it. So if you can find a group of friends, because obviously not everyone has a lot of space on their phone, but like share it amongst yourselves. Be like, I'll record this lecture, I'll record this lecture, because it helps a lot, especially with the revision. Like I don't know how I would have done it otherwise, because
I can study, like for me, there were obviously some classes that I missed, and when I had to do revision for them, I just had to do 5 times more of the work that I had to do for the lectures that I actually attended. And so I feel like really do not miss lectures, because it is a learning experience for me. Do not miss them, because it will be so much easier when you're revising. You already know, like, your memory, like you have it in your memory, even if you don't think that you do. And then it's just so much easier, and it takes the stress off completely.
If you want to actually follow his advice, you can't just say, I'll leave it to second term and I'll do it then. Because fail early, so fail in first term, don't leave trying to be on it to second term, because then you'll just fail again.
Don't just spend your time revising, practice writing an exam. Because it's an essay exam, it's a lot about just being able, not just to know the stuff, or a lot of them are essay exams, not all of them, but formulating some kind of a text based on the things you know. So that requires just practice and time management as well, because you've got limited time. So just sit down and pretend you're taking the real exam a couple times, and that will help you a lot.
I think a final tip from me, just for Dev and for uni, I guess as a whole, there is support there for you. Don't feel as if you can't or shouldn't ask for help. Like, you are paying for it, and that's literally it. And
I think we forget that.
Yeah, you really forget. But don't be afraid to ask for help, because honestly, the lecturers and student support are more than willing to help you. It just takes you to go and be like, okay, I'm struggling with this. Speak to your academic advisor. They'll show you how to write a good essay. You'll see changes in your grades dramatically from little things that maybe you weren't doing, but you weren't aware of. But if you go and ask for help, you'll be able to find stuff like that out.
Last thing. When you get coursework back, read through your feedback.
Oh yes.
Very
talk to your
helpful.
lecturers about it.
It will help you just do better.
And if you have the time, read through the feedback of the last coursework before you submit the next one.
Yes,
Because you forget.
Good.
Any final thoughts?
I guess lifestyle. You wanna make sure you're not stressed. You're doing things which are gonna make you happy. Going to the gym and just for me, praying and stuff, just keeping myself peaceful. Because your brain doesn't work well under stress, and you remember a lot more. Because really and truly, these exams, it's just retaining information and then regurgitating it in, I guess, a form that the examiners like it. So you gotta have your just whole mentality.
So that's it. Hopefully we've inspired someone to study Dev. It's pretty cool. If you have any questions for for myself or any of us individually, just let me know and I'll forward it to the relevant person. That's it. Thanks for watching.
Okay.
Bye.